Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. In the world of journalism, there's political journalism. I do that. And then there's sports journalism, and I don't do that. I'm just a fan. Doug Lesmerises does sports journalism, and in fact, Bill and Doug's show is the highest-rated individual team Substack show in America. And you can look at it if you go to billanddougosu.substack.com, and you'll never turn back. The Bill and Doug show is fabulous, but usually heavy on the OSU. Today, though, Doug, I got a question for you because I've been pounded by people who knew you were coming. Were Notre Dame and BYU screwed? And you're the guy to ask that because you know it. You probably got incoming. Were they screwed?
So they were led on. We talked about this on a show today. I said Notre Dame kind of got ghosted, right? And it's not, I think, in the end, I think it is the right decision. But what the playoff committee did, it's a group of people, Hugh. And I was thinking about this. Imagine if the NFL playoffs had a show where they play all year and then they're like, we're going to have a show to decide who gets in. A committee's picking who gets in the playoffs. That playoff show would do a gazillion rating, right? That's what college football does.
Yep.
Notre Dame was in all year. And then for the last rankings, they flipped Notre Dame and Miami because Miami had beaten Notre Dame during the regular season, but the whole time they still had Notre Dame ahead of Miami. But then when it counted, they flipped them. So Notre Dame is mad. Their AD has come out. Notre Dame turned down a bowl game. Was the decision in the end wrong? I say no. And I say this as a person who picked Notre Dame to win the national title in the preseason. And I think right now, Notre Dame's one of the 4 best teams in the country right now. But they lost their first 2 games. Your resume matters. Your resume matters, Hugh. You can't throw games away just because they were a long time ago. So I think the correct decision was made, but I understand why Notre Dame is mad because the perception got thrown off, right? The process of the decision-making wasn't great, but the decision, I think, in the end was correct.
So Doug, explain to me. I really want to understand that. If you think Notre Dame is one of the 4 best teams in the country right now, how should a system be constructed so that they don't get left out? And how is it constructed that they were left out?
Yeah, it'd be one of those, and like we talked about it all year at the NFL, Q. The Chiefs lost again this week. They're 6-7. They're out of the playoff mix right now. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. If the Chiefs do make the playoffs, they're probably would be one of the 4 teams that people would pick to win the Super Bowl. But just because you have talent and just because you play well, that's not what it's about. It's about what the scoreboard says. Otherwise, we're just doing a talent accumulation. So I think you have to be judged by how good you are, but the scoreboard, your record, is an indication of how good you are. And so Notre Dame, they lost 2 games in their first two tries to good teams. Then they won 10 straight. None of those 10 wins were against a team currently ranked in the top 25. They don't have a great win. We think they're good. Their defense looks good. They have a great running back. Their young quarterbacks played well. But the resume doesn't say it. And I think, Hugh, in sports, if we get too far away from resume and what's been proven and too far into, well, I think this, the talent tells me that, I think that's a danger zone. So that's the part of it that I wish Notre Dame was in. I'd love to watch them play. In the end, I think their resume is a tiny bit short.
Well, then, isn't every athletic director talking to every football coach right now about lining up a MAC team for the first 3 games before they go into their conference? Because why would Texas want to play Ohio State, vice versa? Why should Notre Dame open the season in Miami? Didn't TV just shoot itself in the foot?
Well, I think it would be harder in some of the other things, right? Like if people were wondering, would Alabama get left out after Alabama made the SEC championship game and lost? If they had not gotten in after losing the SEC championship game, we'd say, what are we going to do with championship games? Championship games are done. Because if you earn the right to go there and lose, now they kick you out of the playoff. We're not playing championship games anymore. Vanderbilt is 10-2. They also didn't make the playoff. They have 2 good losses. They don't have a great win. They didn't play anybody in the non-conference who was so good. So I still think you do get credit. You do get credit if you play a good team and lose, but you've got to back it up with good wins. So I hope the athletic directors realize that the good wins still are important and they still do help you. And in the end, probably what would have helped Notre Dame, it's not that they wound up losing to 2 playoff teams, Texas A&M and Miami. All right, we lost to 2 of the top 12 teams. Why didn't we get in? You know what? If you had one more top 25 win, you'd probably be in. You could argue that Notre Dame's problem is they didn't schedule hard enough. And they're an independent. They're doing the whole schedule on their own. They're picking their 12 opponents. You schedule 5-10 years ahead, so you think this team's going to be good, and then they're not that good, right? So some of it's not your fault. I think in the end, it's not necessarily about that they lost to good teams. It's that they didn't play enough good teams. So if they were 2-2 against good teams, they're in. They're 0-2 against good teams, they're out.
So should Notre Dame join a conference?
I mean, it's the great conversation. Pete Pavakwa, their AD, said today, like, this just makes us realize we're staying independent because, you know, they'd rather fight for themselves. They're mad at the ACC. They have an agreement with the ACC as a conference that they play 5 ACC teams a year. They have other associations with the ACC, but they're not in the ACC in football all the way. Well, Miami's in the ACC. So over the weekend, before the committee made their announcement, the ACC network, which is a specific network, they played the Notre Dame-Miami game every hour. They kept playing the Notre Dame-Miami game. Look, remember, Miami beat Notre Dame. The ACC came out against Notre Dame for the team in their conference. Notre Dame's now mad at the ACC. So it's one of those things. When you're in a conference, you have a conference to fight for you. But when you're not in a conference, you only have to answer to yourself. So on some level, some people would say, join a conference. This is your own fault. On the other hand, Notre Dame's saying, you know what? No one's going to look out for number one other than us. This is proof we're never joining anybody.
All right, last quick question, Doug. We got 30 seconds. You're a Heisman voter.
I am.
Is it tough for you? Is it difficult? Do you have an easy choice? I know what you said, but you weren't supposed to say it, so I'm not going to say it.
So if I told you right now, they're announcing the Heisman finalists, 4 Heisman finalists announced on ESPN between 6:30 and 7 o'clock tonight. The ballots were due at 5 p.m. If I told you right now who I voted for in the Heisman, a poison dart would hit me in the neck, shot by someone from the Heisman Trust. I will tell you, it was not a difficult choice for me, at least for number one.
All right, Doug Lesmerises, always good to talk to you. We'll talk to you, and we'll talk about Texas A&M and Miami, the Buckeyes' eventual opponents. But go to BillandDougOSU.substack.com to get the best show on college football. BillandDougOSU.substack.com. It is the most subscribed to single team, although it's not single team, Substack out there. Stay tuned.